Hello, today we're going to do Word Chapter 3 Guided Project. I hope that y'all are getting used to the My IT Lab environment and what you need to do. And I hope that you're getting used to the projects and how to interpret and work with the instructions. Okay, so we are going to open up, download all the files for Word Chapter 3. And then we're going to open up the project file that has your name in it. There are 3 other files that you will download as well, 2 Word files and 1 Excel spreadsheet, and we'll use those to do our mail merge. So this chapter introduces tables and mail merges a little bit more. It also includes formulas in tables. A mail merge is very powerful, and it's something that really can be used a lot. And it takes a template document, and you put in what's called mail merge fields that correspond to a list. So we may have, in our case, we have a spreadsheet with a list of names and information, and we insert a field corresponding to that list, and then it goes in and it fills in that information as many times as what's in that list. So for example, if we wanted to do envelopes with people's addresses, and we had a spreadsheet with 500 addresses in it, we could make a letter, or not a letter, but an envelope document. And on that envelope document, we could say, okay, on line 1, we want first name and last name. Line 2, we want the address. Line 3, we want the city, state, and the zip. But we put them as in merge fields. And then when we merge the 2 documents together, namely the Word document that has the envelopes and the Excel spreadsheet that has the list of 500 names, then we get 500 envelopes, each with the different names on them. So that's what we're going to be working with today. First, let's set up our document. And right now, when you open up the starter document, you get this single line. Is all we get. So obviously, this is not enough to be able to send out to anybody. And so we're going to work with it. Okay, step 2, it says to move to the end of the document. Again, make sure that your paragraph markers are on, your non-printing characters, and you want to come down here. Literally it says to the end of the file, so make sure your cursor is before that last paragraph mark. And we're going to insert a 2x4 table. So go to insert, and here's your table button. If you hit the down arrow, you see where it'll do 1x1, 2x1, blah blah. We want a 2x4, so 2x4. Okay. From here, in the top left cells, so the first cell, we want to type consultant / employee name. Now make sure that there is no space on either side of this slash. And then in the first cell of row 2, we want to type an account number. And then in the first cell of row 3, we want to type in job number. Now do make sure that there is a space before the pound signs. Okay, we're going to delete the 4th row. So I'm going to hover my cursor over here in the left margin, right around where the 4th row is. And if I click that, it'll select the entire row. Notice if I get too close, you get that plus, okay? We don't want that. That plus is going to insert a row in that area, and that's not what we want. So make sure you're hovering far enough away that you're not getting that plus. So I'm going to highlight all of row 4, and I want to delete it. So I'm just going to come here to delete, and I'm going to say delete rows. if it doesn't show up, you can always right click here and say delete rows, and that will do it. You can also come here to the layout tab here, and you have a delete option button as well up here. Okay. We want to change the orientation to landscape, so we're going to go to layout and go to orientation and say landscape. And then we want to change the width of the first column to 2.7. So if you hover over the column, you'll see how my cursor changes to the down arrow. That will select the entire column. So if I hit that, you'll see the entire column is selected. And then under layout, you have a height and a width. So I'm going to change my width to 2.7 and hit enter. And then for the second column, we want the width to be 5.5. Okay. Then it says to change the height of all rows to 0.5. So we want to select all the rows, and you can do this in two ways. You can hover over in this bottom or in this left-hand margin. Again, make sure you don't have that plus, and just click and drag, and it will select all the rows. The easier way to do it is just when you select your table, you have your cursor anywhere in the table, you'll notice you get this box right here that has the four corner selector. If you hover over that and click on it, it will select the entire table. Since we're selecting all of the rows, we want to select the whole table. Then let's go back to our layout tab, and we're going to change the height to 0.5. Perfect. Okay, next, step 4, we're going to change the font size of all the text in the first column to 14 points. So we're going to go ahead and select the entire column again, and we're going to change the text to 14 point. Ensure that all the text in the first column is bold. The easiest way to do this is you cannot always trust this bold symbol. This bold symbol is going to be selected or deselected depending on what this first entry is. Since this first entry is bold, then it's going to show bold. But these two entries could be not bold, but it would still, this button would still be selected. So to make sure that the whole column is bold, we're going to uncheck bold, and then we're going to recheck it again. That makes sure that everything that is selected, which is the entire column, is bolded. Okay, next step. Step 5, it says to select the table. And you can click anywhere inside the table to select the table. Basically, we want to make sure that we have these table tool tabs over here. And we're going to go to design, and we want to change our pen color to gold accent 4, darker 25%. We're going to change our line style here to this double line. And we want this to be 1.5 points. And we're going to apply this setting to all inside grid lines. And you could come in here, click on borders, and say inside borders, and that would work, except for my whole thing is not selected. What they're wanting you to do is actually use this border painter right here. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to say no borders. Whoops, that's not going to work. Okay. I'm going to go to the border painter here, and you'll notice my cursor changes to a paintbrush, and I'm just going to click on the borders that I want to be that style. Easy enough. Okay, step 6, they want us to change the pen color to the gold accent 4, darker 50%. Change your line style to this one here, this 9th one that's a thick top border and a thin bottom border. And we want the line width to be 3 points. And we're going to borders. Again, we want to paint the borders, not just apply the outside border setting. When you do this, I want you to notice a little bit of a difference here. If you notice this outside, the thinner line, notice how it changes from one side to the other when you get to these edges, okay? If we had our whole table selected and we came in here and said outside borders, notice how that line stays the same, okay? Now, in all honesty, if I was doing this, I would have it this way. I think it looks better, but the grader has it with this border turned the other way. And so if you do it this way, the grader is going to count it wrong. So make sure that you paint your borders and that you have this kind of switch here of the border lines. Okay. Now we're going to select the first column. Okay, so select your first column again. We're going to go to shading, and we want gold accent for lighter 60%. And then we're going to move to the end of the document and press enter. Okay, step 8 is insert a 5x5 table. So I'm going to go to insert again, table, and this time I want a 5x5. Okay, and then type in your column headings according to what's in your directions. So date is in the first field. Make sure that there is a space between airfare and the open parentheses. And again, make sure that there's no space on either side of this slash. Okay. Select the second row, and we're going to change the font color to red. And then we're going to type in what's in step 9. Okay, now, normally commas indicate the separation between cells that you're typing in. But notice in our example in the instructions that the comma after Walnut Street is blue instead of black. So the black commas are what separates your cells. The blue, anything in blue, they're wanting you to actually type. So that's why I typed this comma there. Okay, so it's difficult to see that on the instructions. And honestly, I found it simply by submitting it and then realizing it was wrong and fixing it. So, okay, so we have that. Now I'm going to select the whole table, and I'm going to come here to layout, and I'm going to say auto fit contents. Okay, so now it's auto fitted. And then we're going to change the column width of the last column right here to 1.5. And then we're going to add a row at the end. So I'm adding a row at the end by clicking, or column rather, at the end by clicking that plus sign, and that inserts that column. And then we're going to put in hotel. Okay, perfect. So that was step 10. Just a quick side note, it's very early in the morning here when I'm doing this, and everybody in my household is asleep. But my cats have decided now is a very good time to get up and play. So the crashing around that you're hearing in the background is them getting into things that I have no earthly idea what they're getting into. And I'm going to have to go check on it before too terribly long. I'm wondering what in the world they're doing. But that's what the crashing in the background is. So I apologize if that is distracting. Okay, step 11. Add 2 blank rows at the end of the second table. So you can just select this last row, and if you do hover properly you can get that plus. Sometimes you can't, but honestly you could hit that plus sign anywhere, except for really I wouldn't hit it here because it's going to take the formatting of this and you don't want that. So go ahead and hit the plus twice to add 2 rows to the bottom, and then here in the last row we're going to type total. Okay, and then we want to insert a formula in the 4th, 5th, and 6th cells. So over here, 4th, 5th, and 6th, that's going to add everything that's in the column above it. So if we go to our Layout tab in Tables Tools, we have a Formula button. So I'm going to click Formula, and we want the function sum. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to find sum. And then we're going to say above. Now this is different than Excel because there's not really any cell references. We're just saying above. And we're going to set that as a currency format. And say OK. Because we don't have any numbers in here, it's going to show up as zeros, and that's perfectly fine. So let's go to the next cell, and we're going to do formula again. Now it's going to say, hey, there's numbers over here, so let's sum to the left. That's not what we want. We want to sum above again. So we're going to type in above and choose currency and say OK. And then one last time. There we go. Okay, now we're going to apply a table style. So on this one, we manually formatted what our table is going to look like. This time, on this table, we want to add a style. A style is going to give us predefined fonts and colors and grids, line styles, border styles, those types of things. So we're going to go to the Design tab under Table Tools, and here are your different styles. We're going to hit the down arrow, and we want grid tables. We want grid table 1 light, accent 4. So grid table 1 light, accent 4 is this one with the yellow borders. There we go. And you'll notice it changed this stuff to bold. It put these lines in here, our borders with the different pen colors and weights. Okay, we are going to select row 1. So hover again in the left-hand margin and select row 1. And we're going to change our shading to gold accent 4 lighter 60%, which is the same as we used up here in the top. And then we're going to center align all entries in the top row. So go to your layout, and here are your alignments. And if you hover over them, it'll say align top left, align top center. We want align center. Okay, and then under design, we're going to deselect this first column option, and that's going to turn this stuff here to bold like the rest of it is. Okay, we are good there. And now in 13 and 14, we're going to enter in all that information into the next 2 rows. Again, make sure that you are precise in your typing and your spelling and your spacing. In these instances, they've actually put each cell on its own line, which makes it much easier to read. And go ahead and enter that information in. Do notice that there's no commas between Boston and MA, the city and the state. I made that mistake the first time I did it and submitted it, and it counted it that I didn't type it right because I added that comma. So make sure you don't put that comma in there. It's kind of a habit if you're used to typing in cities and states that you put the comma between the city and the state, but in this instance, for whatever reason, they're not doing it. Okay, now notice when we typed these numbers in, our formulas did not change. Okay, when we get to Excel, you will notice that when we type in formulas, when we change what's in the cells that those formulas reference, the formula automatically updates. Well, Word is not that way, so we have to manually update it. So I'm going to click on the formula. Just click one time. You'll notice the whole thing is gray, is selected and is gray. If you right click on it, you can say update field, and then it will do the calculation. And so make sure you do that on all three of our totals. Perfect. Okay, in step 15, we're going to apply a watermark. So let's go to our design tab and we're going to choose watermark. This time it is telling us to select the default predefined. It's saying choose draft 1 from the gallery of watermarks. So do make sure you select that one. It's not a custom watermark this time. And then we're going to insert a blank page at the beginning of the document. So put your cursor before the T, go to insert and say blank page, and now we have a new page at the top. And from here we're going to insert the text that is in the memo document that you downloaded. So I'm going to come over here for text and object, and I'm going to say text from file. And I'm going to find my directory, and this memo file is the one that you want. Perfect. Okay, then we're going to go back to the second page, and we're going to select this second table, and we're going to distribute the rows. So what distribute rows does, well, I'll show you, but you go to the layout tab and say distribute rows right here. Okay, what that does is it just makes all the rows the same width. You notice it changed the height, I'm sorry, not the width, but the height of these last rows here. Okay, now we're going to go back up here to page 1, and we're going to type Blake Jeffries after the word from. Now make sure that you put it in after that tab. Okay, Blake Jeffries, and then make sure that Blake Jeffries is not bolded. So make sure you toggle that bold. I did a Control B from on my keyboard. That's a shortcut for bold, but you can certainly push that button. Do not make sure from is still bolded. You just want to make sure his name is not. And then in date, we're going to put May 25th, 2017. And again, make sure that it is not bold. Okay, so now we are ready to start our mail merge. So now what we're wanting to do now is to take this document and send it to everybody that we have in a list. And what it will do is it's going to produce a separate document with 2 pages for each document for every single person that's in that list. So, but first we've got to prepare this document because we want to customize it. We want to put the people's names in here. And for each document, we want the name to be different based on who it's being sent to. So this is under the Mailings tab. So if you click on Mailings, and let's start a mail merge. We're going to do the step-by-step mail merge wizard. And this pops up over here on the right-hand side. So we're going to do letters. So we're going to, step 1 of 6 down here at the bottom, we're going to click Next. The starting document is our current document, so we're good there. We don't want to start anything new. We're going to say Select Next. We're going to use an existing list, and we're going to click Browse, and we're going to go to the files that we downloaded and choose this partners.xlsx file. So click that. Yours may not show this XLSX on it. Mine does because of the way I have the extensions or the file types shown on my in my File Explorer. You may not, so that may be gone, but your little icon here, it's not going to have that check mark because mine is, I'm using OneDrive, and so that's telling me that it's uploaded. But make sure it's this partners. You should have a cursor here that's Excel instead of Word. And then we're going to say Open. And it's going to say, okay, what do you want to use in the table? We want to use Sheet 1. Say OK. And then we want to select, we want to bring in all rows. So we've got 6 rows, which means we're going to end up with 6 documents. But we want to sort by last name in ascending order. So say OK, and now you can see that it's sorted. And click OK. Perfect. Next, we're going to write our letter. So what this is going to do is it gives us some predefined mail merge fields, but we're going to actually insert our own. So in our To field here, we want to put in first name space last name. So we're going to go here to Insert Merge Field, and if you hit the down arrow, you'll notice our column headings from that Excel spreadsheet now show up here. So we want to say first name, and then we're going to say space, Insert Merge Field, and say last name. Now make sure that this is not bolded, and that's what we want. Now, you cannot type these double arrows and then type in first name. It's not going to work. You have to do it as an insert merge field. Otherwise, Excel is not going to take it as a merge field. There's some special formatting in there that makes it recognize what that is. Okay, now we're ready to complete the merge. So we're going to come down here, and first we're going to say Preview Letters. And you'll notice it's filled in that first name. If up here is your preview results, to toggle your preview, you just click this button and it goes back to where you can see your merge fields. We're going to preview the result, and you can click through each of the recipients to make sure everything is formatted properly. And it is. So next we're going to say Complete the Merge, and we're going to say Edit Individual Letters. So what that's going to do is it's going to take all of the letters and it's going to open it up into a new document. So you're going to have all 6 of those letters one after the other in a new document so that you can look at each of the letters and make sure that it's formatted right, that it merged properly, you've got the right information, so on and so forth. Okay, so we're going to select all from Merge Records and say OK. And you should get this document. Mine is called Letters 1 if you've done this before. It may be Letters 2 or 3 or 4. It doesn't really matter. But you'll notice that the name is filled in. And if you scroll down, here's page 3 and the name is filled in. And if you look down here at the bottom, you'll notice it's page 3 of 12. Remember, we had 6 recipients and we have 2 pages of the document. So 6 times 2 is 12. So it means that it got all 6 of the entries in that spreadsheet. Okay, now we want to select all of this document, everything that's in it, and we're going to paste it into our original document. The reason why we're doing this is because we have to submit it to be able to grade it. And the only way that it's going to be able to grade that you did the merge correctly is by attaching the merged letters, the final letters, this document to the end of the other document and then submitting it. So that we have to go through that process. To make sure that this is done correctly, you need to follow these steps pretty precisely, okay? Make sure your document itself is selected, so just click your cursor anywhere in the document, it doesn't really matter, just make sure your letters document is selected. I'm going to hold the Control key down and I'm going to click A. Control A is all, select all, and it selects everything. You know what? I did something wrong. I did something very wrong. Okay, so we're going to close out of this letters document and we're not going to save it. The thing I did wrong is on this template document, I didn't select first page and remove this draft watermark on this first page. So to do that, it was in that watermark. Step 15, it said to double click the header area and select different first page to remove the watermark from the first page, which is the step that I didn't do. So we've got to fix that. Okay, so I'm clicking in this first page. I'm going to go to my header footer, or I'm going to double click in my header area here. And here is a different first page button. So I'm going to click that and it takes that watermark off. So I apologize for that. It's easily fixed. We don't have to restart our mail merge wizard. It's perfectly fine just the way it is. We can go back a step to, previewing our letters to see it, and then click complete the merge again and say edit individual letters. Click all and say OK. And now you'll get another document up. This time it's letters 2, but you'll notice my draft watermark is gone. So I apologize for skipping that part. Now again, I'm going to hold down the Control key and I'm going to click A, and it selects everything in the document. So you'll notice everything, if you scroll down, everything is selected. Okay, now I'm going to copy. Okay, and then I'm just going to minimize this letters document and come back here to my document that has my name in it. And I want to go down to the very bottom of the last page, put my cursor at the very end of the page. We're going to insert a page break. And then at the top of the third page, we're going to paste. And it's going to paste all 12 of those pages in here. And so now instead of only having 2 pages, we now have 15 pages. The reason why we have 15, because you're kind of like, wait a minute, 2 plus 12 is 14. The reason why we have 15 is because it's got these blank lines here on the 13th page, or the 15th page, and that's okay. And now we're going to just save our file and submit it and you're all done. This one was a little bit more complicated and a tad bit more involved than our first two documents, but then, we're getting into some more advanced features and stuff. Thank you very much. I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and we will see you for Word Chapter 4. Have a great day.